the press coverage you have for us?
Well, A.J. Green was fined $42,000 by the NFL for his fight with Jalen Ramsey. But in this particular case, he told reporters today he will not appeal that suspension. So A.J. Green will accept that $42,000 penalty and begin focusing on what's ahead in the future. What's so funny there, D-Wood?
$42,000 for a fight?
$42,000 fight.
For a fight.
At least he took him down, right? If you're going to spend $42,000.
No, man. You just don't give up $42,000.
All right, we'll move on. We move on. Y'all be quiet. Week 10 kicks off Seahawks Cardinals. Russell Wilson lost last week to Washington, but he's pretty good at bouncing back. 21-4 following an in-season loss. Best record by a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl era. Legion of Boom hurting. Richard Sherman nagging Achilles injury. Questionable. Earl Thomas going to miss his second straight game, as we said, due to the hamstring injury. And the trade to the desert has brought Adrian Peterson back to relevance. He needs only one rushing touchdown to become the 9th player ever with 100 career rushing touchdowns. And, of course, he went over 12,000 rushing yards for his career in his last game. And we are delighted to have the Schwartz be with us. Mark Schwartz, live in Arizona, with us on NFL Live. Mark, the Seahawks are 5-3 and just a game behind the Red Hot Rams for first place in their division. How do the Seahawks see themselves in the NFC playoff picture with where we are?
Well, you know, Trey, there's a lot of time left, obviously, but they're not where they want to be. You can argue no team in all of professional sports is more dependent on home field in a playoff scenario to go through the NFC than the Seahawks are. They lost a game that they had to have circled on their schedule as a W. And as Doug Baldwin put it after, the Redskins didn't beat us. We beat ourselves. They committed 16 penalties in this game. 10 by the offense. I mean, this is not the aggressive kind of penalty that Pete Carroll teams are known for when they win Super Bowls. They have committed 82 penalties this year. If they keep up this pace, they will set an all-time NFL record for most penalties committed by a team in a season. And they still have not generated a running game outside of Russell Wilson, who still leads them in rushing yards.
Well, speaking of running games, let's talk about the one that Arizona has found when they made the trade for Adrian Peterson. He has been unbelievable, over 130 yards in 2 of their last 3 games. What has he meant to this offense, of course, is without their starting quarterback, Carson Palmer?
Well, that's the point. He saved their season, Trey. Without Carson Palmer, they're using Drew Stanton, a backup who only has so much that he's capable of doing. They lost David Johnson week 1, and so what do? You have to create an offense with Peterson as the cornerstone. But never in the history of the league has a 32-year-old running back toted the ball 37 times, and now he's on 3 days rest. I asked Carlos Dansby, do you think he might be able to do 37 more? And Dansby paused for a moment and said, maybe. He said, phew, unreal. You see this guy from a distance and you're in awe, and then you see it up close and you're speechless. Dansby, the defensive NFC player of the week, told me, I've never seen anything like that in my life. This young man here, this is a different animal. Trey, the Cardinals are all about Adrian Peterson. As soon as the game was over Sunday, he went right to the facility, jumped in the cold tub. He's trying to prepare to put a whooping on this Seattle defense.
Yeah, the only good news for him is he's at home this week on a short week, because we'll see what he's got left. All right, Mark, we appreciate it. Thanks very much. Let's talk about the other leading rusher now in this game, and that would be Russell Wilson, as Mark alluded to. He's really had to extend his fair share of plays because of that offensive line that's had breakdowns and pass protection. Our next-gen stats tell us that a quarter of Wilson's pass attempts are coming outside the tackle box. For perspective, the NFL average is 11%, and he's at 25. He's thrown a league-high 6 touchdown passes on such throws without an interception. And, Teddy, that's the bigger point right now with Seattle. It's all about him running around and making plays for his life, and somehow that's translated into a winning record.
Yeah, it's just who he is. It's what he's going to do. And, of course, I'm going to go over there to the touch screen.
Take your walk,
and show
big
you
man.
That it's hard for defenders to play against this type of style. A quarterback that's athletic enough to get out of the pocket. But I want to tell you this, Trey. It's also hard for his offensive line also. Here you have one of his scrambles outside. When you have a protection with the pocket like this, here you have not a bad job here with the pocket here. Russell's going to scramble outside and then throw it deep down the field. It's hard for defenders to defend this long, 5, 6, 7 seconds, things like that. He gets to the line of scrimmage, all of that, and boom, there it is. So I'm telling you, here, you just can't cover for that long. But I want to show you something from the beginning here, okay? I'm going to take this back, but also it's hard for these guys. these offensive linemen right here to protect for so long, because right here, this is a pretty good job. This is an NFL pocket.
Right.
This is what you have to do. His first look isn't there. You see him shut. He pumped. Your first look isn't there. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with your outlet? It's 2nd and 4. He'd run probably, maybe you got a 3rd and 2, a makeable 3rd down, but you don't have that. Instead, you got Ifedi on the right side, holding call. It all comes back, and now you're 10 yards behind the sticks even more. I'm going to show you on the replay here why it's so hard, because I think Ifedi did a good job on this play. Here it is, speed to power rush by Gillette right here. Speed to power. You have the front of the pocket is set. Not bad over here. I showed you the pocket on the wide view, but watch Ifedi. He fights. He fights. He's trying to anchor against his speed to power rush right here. You see that? That's not holding. That's not holding if Russell Wilson stays right here and delivers it to this guy right here, and you get a 5-yard gain. But Russell wants it all. Russell can go this way. Russell can go that way. Russell can do all of this, and then go the other way. It's hard. So the offensive lineman, you've got the speed to power blocks. But what you don't know how to block is speed to power and then run this way. Because as he's holding him legally there, that is a hold. Yeah. When he tries to get away to a scrambling quarterback and you are still engaged with him, that's the hold right there. That's the problem. That's the conflict that Russell's own offensive line has, Trey. There have been 10 accepted penalties by the offensive line, 7 on scramble plays.
Yeah.
That makes it hard on him.
Listen, there's no question. And those penalties, though, Adam, have been a real problem for Seattle all year. 16 in this game. They have 12 more than any other team.
And particularly Jermaine Ifedi, as you mentioned, Teddy. Again, 10 penalties against him. If we go back and look at offensive linemen over the last decade, the only offensive lineman that had as many as 15 in a season was Kwame Harris of the Oakland Raiders. So Jermaine Ifedi is on a record-setting pace for penalties, and Pete Carroll has addressed his team and spoken to them about pre-snap penalties, offsides, illegal procedures, all those sorts of things. They started the game on Sunday against Washington with an offsides penalty against Michael Bennett. If they're going to contend, if they're going to get back in the thick of this, they need to be more disciplined. They need to be smarter about the decisions they make. And for them, it starts tonight, Thursday night, in Arizona against the Cardinals.
But to Teddy's point, some of that is on the decisions that Russell can make to help his offensive line.
There's one, that's the one I'll excuse Ifedi for. I mean, he's had plenty of others that he can get better too, but in those situations, it's just hard for a tackle.
All right, speaking of tackling, what about the Seahawks defense? A lot of people saying, well, it's not the same. They're beat up, but at some point they need help from the offense.
Absolutely, they need points. They need points because of the reason they're not getting points is the reason why they're playing what we call hero ball on the defensive side of the ball. Listen, early on in this game, we're going to see a great play, but probably one of the greatest safeties that ever played this game in Earl Thomas. He's reading the eyes of the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and he's seeing the quarterback. So he's sitting, understands he's what we call cutting on the backside, reading the eyes and making a great play that only Earl Thomas could make. Bam, makes an interception, then, of course, takes it to the house because of the old punt return capabilities in the past. But now, as we've seen that, you get a little hungry and say, you know what, I need to make another play. What's Earl Thomas' job? He's supposed to be in the middle of the field. Take away the deep middle of the field. What happens? He for 1 second gets his eyes on the crossing route like he did earlier, but instead of taking a chance, he breaks off in a bad angle, and where is he supposed to be? In the deep middle of the field. That slight hesitation causes this big play in the middle of the field. Doesn't help his young cornerback out right here. Cam Chancellor, one of the greatest safeties, strong safeties, a guy I absolutely admire. Playing hero ball. Listen, he's breaking on the ball, keep his angles. This would never happen to a guy like Cam Chancellor in the past. Simply because he knows where his angles are, where his help is. You're going to see Earl with the bad.
By the way, that was the play that he got injured on. He's not in tonight.
Yeah, Earl, and here we go, Richard Sherman. Same thing. He's covering. His guy is covered. He knows they're not going to throw the ball his way, but takes his eyes off because he flashes. There's a flash in the backfield. Thinks the ball's coming that way. What happens there? Pass interference. They didn't give up the touchdown, but a pass interference. These guys are playing so hard because the offense will not generate points.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out how do we find ways to get balls in our hands, interception returns, fumble recoveries. They need to do their job. Do What do you guys always used to say?
Do your job.
Do your job.
That defense feels they got to do so much.
They
They
do.
feel like we just can't
Pressing.
tackle. We got to get our hands on balls. We got to intercept. We got to score. All of that stuff.
To your point, 16 points or less in 4 of their 8 games. In 2 games, they didn't get to 10, 9 points. Eventually, that's going to affect any defense.
It does,
We saw that happen in Denver the last couple of weeks and what's going on with their great defense. All right, lots more coming. Speaking of Denver, when we continue on NFL Live, Tom Brady winning in Denver, it's been a problem.